don't care. They don't care about the kids.
Yeah, it's like,
not at all.
They don't care. They don't care about the kids.
It's like really,
unless it's their kids.
That's different. So Jay-Z and Rock Nation have a $300 million scholarship fund for the city of Philadelphia. And a lot of people are saying that this is doing more harm than help. So I'm going to read a couple things, and then you guys can, I guess make your own opinions about it. But I thought it was dope when I saw it. I mean, anytime you see $300 million scholarship for schools, usually that's a pretty good thing, right? But there's always intricacies to everything. And it says 𝐻𝐿's Rock Nation Company declared last week that they would be holding events to inform residents about the fund, which is available to students in the city in the form of scholarships to private schools for grades K through 12.
oh, okay.
So the angle is private schools. I'm going to read a couple comments. It says, just to be clear for those not in Pennsylvania, the legislation Jay-Z is supporting here is a Republican-led effect to gut public education. Effort, thank you. To gut public education, spearheaded by future Trump cabinet member Jeffrey Yass, I believe. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And here's another one. It says, whether Jay-Z or the upper middle class family on the block, if you have resources and don't allocate them to local public schools, you are making a moral and political choice. Taking children out of public schools in favor of private is precisely what hurts the most vulnerable. What do y'all think about that?
I've heard this argument before, about charter schools and all these other things.
Private schools, yep.
I'm not and I understand part of the argument on both sides, as a product of, public school, but also I grew up in what some people would consider an affluent situation. This isn't as much of an issue from where I'm from, even though I had friends that went to private school, and I always thought, why would you pay money to go to school? But that's neither here nor there. But I understand when it's almost like, hey, there can be almost a situation where there's a brain drain, not only because some of the, top tier students, they choose not to go to the neighborhood schools, but also schools receive funding for having a certain amount of children in school. And so I can see where it does seem like there are forces on the right who do not believe in public education as it is structured now.
They want to gut it completely.
Yeah. And they see, and part of it is because there's a vendetta against the teachers because the teachers have a union, and unions aren't things that are usually supported by the right, regardless of what, of what they're teaching and where they're teaching. So, they feel this way towards public schools in affluent areas as well. I think Jay-Z's heart is in the right place probably with this, and whoever his partners are, because I figure there have to be some partners involved. Because
for sure.
Why would he do this in Philadelphia as opposed to Brooklyn? Where there's also a need for funding for educational for kids who might want to go to private schools. But of course, it's almost like you can never do the right thing with the wrong people in some people's eyes. And so if you feel like, oh, these are Trump supporters, I get it, because right now we're in this being a political season, everything's going to be politicized. I won't like to think that Jay-Z is a part of gutting public schools. I understand that's why the narrative is going to be. But right now, this is just a very complicated issue, especially depending on who's going to be the Secretary of Education after this upcoming election, because that could be a very crucial thing as far as defunding public schools in underfunded places. Are already underfunded because, of course, our public schools are funded by the tax base of wherever they are. Right. And so if you're talking about taking more resources away, and you can get Jay-Z to be the face of taking resources away from underfunded schools, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, even if he and his partners have the right intentions behind them trying to help kids who may not have an opportunity to go to private schools to get tuition to go to these particular schools.
What you think, Lo?
I think that it's an interesting thing because we have, I really wish Mark was here, Mr.
Oh,
Kinetic.
yeah.
It would be, because I very much value his opinion on this, but I feel like we're in an area where we see a lot of public school teachers walking away due to support, due to many things that are
Banning of books.
Yeah. It's just not being able to teach in the right ways and not being able to have control over their classrooms and a whole bunch of things. Generally speaking, when I look at $300 million to private schools, I think, well, why wouldn't you put that money towards public school infrastructure as opposed to private school infrastructure? Because it's still going to end up leaving a lot of people out. So if you spend, now granted, this isn't Jay-Z's responsibility, right? You know what I mean? But to me, it's like there are certain things in our country that I think that inherently should just be rights. And one of them is education, one of them is healthcare, stuff like that. But when you don't have the right type of resources to make public school what it needs to be, I think that's a problem. And right now, the Conservative Party in general has a lot of issues with public schools. And so they just want to gut it, and so I don't know. I'm kind of talking around because I don't really know how to address this because I don't feel like I'm an expert in this manner. But what I will say is that like I don't think that this is a solution to a problem that is with public schools. Like, I don't think the solution is to put a bunch of money into private schools to pull students out of what would typically be I think the solution is to make public schools better. So I don't, but again, I'm not the expert, so.
No. I can dig that. You got any thoughts, Terry, on this?
Just a few. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say because again, like he said, I'm not really hip to a lot of what's going on as far as public school sector and the private is. But to me, just surface level, it sounds like the rich helping the rich.
That's what it sounds like.
I mean, charter schools or private schools, you don't necessarily have to be rich to go there, but you're paying tuition to go to elementary or junior high and high school. The tuition isn't cheap either. I don't know if y'all have seen
how much college tuition.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like some of the schools here, like Cathedral and what's another one? Private school. Chittard, Ritter, I believe.
Brebeuf.
I think, Brebeuf. These are not cheap schools, and the people that go there, or the kids that go there, their parents are essentially investing in their education to further them later once they get to college and things of that nature. So if these parents are able to provide this education to these kids, I don't think an additional funding needs to be made because a lot of these schools look very well. Their sports programs are very good as well because they can afford to pull this kid from inner city school and just say, we're going to pay your tuition so that we win these games and in turn get more money at our school.
Yeah.
Good point. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's just it's an issue. It just doesn't seem right, surface level to me, to be giving $300 million to private schools when you have inner city schools that their gym is leaking. I drive by Crispus Attucks every day. And it probably looked like that when my dad went there. Like the bleachers on the football field, they're all crumbling. And NBA decided to give them a statue of Oscar Robertson out in front of it. But they really need a new facility. They need that to be updated. At the end of the day, I mean, the statue, that's a good look too. But at the end of the day, what matters is kids feel a certain sense of pride by going to school somewhere that looks presentable. You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
If I'm walking into this building and it looks a certain way, I feel a certain type of way, it's going to keep me or at least help guide me and structure my mind to want better for myself versus I'm going to school and essentially a hole and nobody's funding us, but we see all these other private schools who already got money getting these funds. So to me, it's a cool gesture, but it's also a slap in the face at the same time to me.
I'm trying to read more on this people.com article here, and it says, stop me if you already mentioned this, but it said students' eligibility for the new campaign, which falls under Senate Bill 757, also known as the Pennsylvania Award for Student Success, PASS, will depend on household income not exceeding 250% of the federal poverty level, which currently sits at $75,000. For a family of four. Varying scholarship amounts will be awarded for those who qualify, like $2,500 for half-day kindergarten students, $5,000 for grades K through 8, $10,000 for grades 9 through 12, and $15,000 for students with special needs.
That wasn't in here on the one that I pulled.
Let me make sure I'm reading the right article here. Yeah, June 7th. All right, so yeah, this is interesting, man. I don't know, man, because private school is funded. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Private school is funded from private investors, anyways, right?
No, by you paying tuition.
Yeah, the parents essentially.
Yeah.
But it's also private investors as well, right?
It's almost like there are people who are boosters and private supporters, yes, and
alumni that pretty much benefited from going to that school and are giving back to the school.
They have just like a lot of Ivy League schools, and not just Ivy League, who have an endowment.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's so. I mean, in that aspect, I can kind of see. It's just like it just seems like Jay-Z is another one of these people that's just putting money.
I mean, his kids are if they're going to school at all and not being homeschooled by a nanny or something, I'm sure they're going to private school.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So there's another piece on here. It says, in addition to distributing scholarship funds, Rock Nation is slated to host a series of events in the greater Philadelphia region. And also, Rock Nation's new launch in Philadelphia is the latest educational effort from the company's past commitments. In 2020, Jay-Z's company teamed up with Long Island University to start Rock Nation School of Music, Sports, and Entertainment. I think we may have even talked about that
a while back, I believe so.
Very briefly. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I think for me specifically, when I look at this, I just think I would just appreciate an investment into
public schools,
man, because that's where the majority of people go, and that's the majority of that's where the issues lie. Like let the private people figure it out.
But is that even something that you could create a fund to do and say, okay, we're going to?
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what the state and local and federal government is supposed to cover.
Yeah, which is the problem. Yeah,
that's exactly.
And so there, and then it gets down to.
So once again, it's private interest controlling educational interest, which I see where people have an issue with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, same way that there's a loophole for people in public schools getting in trouble and them leading them down the wrong path and setting them up for failure. This is essentially setting the people up that are already set up to win even more.
Yeah,
that's definitely
very well said.
It's a version of nepritism.
Yeah.
Or just
not even nepotism.
Not nepotism.
Not even nepotism, but
just to, like privilege at the end of the day.
Yeah, just to once again they say, okay, these are the kids we know. Like we'll snatch the good athletes and the good students from the neighborhood schools.
Yeah, that's how they'll spin it to make it look good.
Right,
is because we're actually including kids from the inner city that are able to go to these schools and benefit from this program, but at the end of the day, you're leaving 90% of them in the same position they were in when it started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no child left behind, man.
Hey, that's real. That No Child Left Behind got somebody in trouble this past week. I don't know if y'all seen the kid that got demoted from 12th grade down to 9th grade.
What?
Because he was so terrible at school, and his mom was.
He thought he was about to graduate.
Well, I don't know. Well, they didn't interview him.
Oh,
but
was
his
this thing in
mom was
Baltimore?
talking. I don't know
what
what's.
The kid he just wasn't going to school.
It was something like that. He missed like an abnormal amount of days to even consider wanting to graduate. But his mother was blaming the teachers and things of that nature. This falls on you.
Yeah.
At the end, if your kid ain't doing good in school, you cannot put the blame on teachers.
It all starts
if you're
at home.
not checking his grades and his attendance.
And now they do everything online. Which is crazy. Like crazy. Now, it used to be you could do something, be like, no, I don't know what they talking about, Ma. And now they can check what you did online.
Man, this dude missed like 200 days of school.
Oh my God! You can't blame that on the teacher, man.
Look, she ought to be ashamed for even getting on the news saying anything.
Exactly.
As an educator myself, like I can only teach people that show up.
True.
I can only and even sometimes when people show up, they're not really there, and it's just. There's only so much you can do, and it starts at home.
That's another reason why these public schools need funding is because some of these kids show up to school and they aren't there. A lot of it is because they're hungry. How can they focus?
Yeah.
So
and then you see things to
we
where
need truant officers,
like the ones
and
in
more
Jews.
metal detectors.
No, but I mean, it was.
See what you did there.
I saw something, of course, where there was some governor, it could have been any state at this point because people are crazy.
Probably Florida.
Yeah, probably. Where they were going to receive federal money to, make sure kids who get subsidized lunches, they're able to also have somewhere to get at least breakfast during the summertime. Not even something that's going to come from the state budget.
Conservatives are like, no.
And they're like, nope.
They denied that bill.
Yeah.
I read about that yesterday, I think.
You know, and it's like, what is the political gain from you saying
Nothing.
No, we're not going to feed these kids with money that we get from the government. We didn't have to raise this money. It's not going to take away from potholes or anything else.
That's
here.
crazy.
Like, I mean,
crazy.
that's also the thing what they've done in Mississippi for years, but we know what that's about. To where like most southern states, if you didn't already know, without the federal government, they would just be. It'd be third world countries more than they are now. And, you know, they don't give, you know, food and SNAP benefits to their citizens. Well, partially because if they gave it to they don't even give it to the white people, because if they gave it to the white people, then they have to give it to everybody. So now they just they make the poverty threshold so low that it was like, hey, you know, you made $7,000 this year. You got enough money to eat.
That's crazy. Now, I do want to give a shout out to my school, Warren Central. Actually, during COVID, they sent a lot of kids meal cards because you weren't coming to school. So they sent cards to the families so that they could go get groceries.
Really?
I thought that was pretty solid.
That's dope right there. That's dope.
It's just so many conservatives in general don't kind of understand how a lot of these issues intersect with each other. And, you know, education isn't just about like how fast you can read.
Exactly.
You know, it's like there's so many things that go into.
There's a lot of people that got all the way through school and never learned how to read.
Yeah.
And how they did it, that's intelligent in itself to even be able to fake it that way. That much.
I mean, some people, you know, if you're an athlete, I don't know if you ever remember this player. He went named Dexter Manley. He played for the Washington. He couldn't read when he was on the Washington Redskins. That means he went through college and couldn't read.
Yeah.
That's wild, because they could care less about him reading.
No, he's incredible. You know, he's NFL's caliber talent. You being able to read, as long as you can read that, kind of figure out what the X's and O's on that playbook.
Read that playbook.
Yeah,
That's all
somebody
you
else
need.
can read for you.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, has anybody, not to go too sidebar on this, but have you guys been witness to this Project 2025 thing?
I looked at it briefly, and it is crazy.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
What is it called? Project 2025?
Yeah, it's the conservative handbook for what they want to do as soon as a Republican is elected president. It's wild. It's wild.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it's like far left field.
Yeah.
Before right field.
Right field.
Yeah. Right field, that's right.
Oh, yeah? Is that bad?
Yeah, it's bad, dude.
Nah,
it's bad.
Got me want to go look it up.
They don't deny it. Like, if you question them about these things, they're like, yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah. So, but
really,
yes.
But it's along the same lines of the stuff that we're talking about here. It's just like, it's just hyper individualism, realistically, in a lot of ways, but not caring about anybody except for yourself.
That's tough. Project 20.
They don't care about the kids.
Yeah,
not at all.
They don't care about the kids.
It's like really,
unless it's their kids.
That's different.
You know, and then they want to be able to put their kids.
Well, I mean, it's always different rules. Just like, you know, Hunter Biden got convicted today, and
did he?
Yeah, and no one was talking about the system being broken.
Like, it's like, I'm sure you see a whole bunch of liberals out there like, okay.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Who cares?
Yes, I saw AOC.
Was he guilty?
Was like, yeah,
cool.
that's what happens. I mean, like he wasn't doing stuff he wasn't supposed to do, and he got caught.
Well, I mean, maybe that'll shut up their talking point about that.
No, it won't.
No, they still bringing it up. They're bringing it up today.
It's just like, oh my gosh.
It's when, you know, systems only broken when we lose.